UFC Fight Night Cejudo versus Song just ended in controversy, but man, what a card this was. There was a finish on every single prelim fight on the card. I went 7-5 on this card. The main event was a bit iffy. The Alonzo Menifield fight was kind of a dud. Looked like they were fighting underwater, I'll be honest. Co-main event was a barn burner. John Silva had an amazing performance. I want to get into every single fight on this card and talk about what happened. Let's get right into it, boys. Starting off with that main event. Henry Cejudo drops a decision to Song Yadong by technical decision. Now, this is extremely rare. Basically, what happened was Song Yadong clearly won the first 2 rounds and was winning the 3rd round. Well, he landed a nasty eye poke on Henry Cejudo. Cejudo takes the entire 5 minutes off, right? He takes his rest, 5 minutes off. He's kind of just sitting there. He's like, give me my full 5 minutes. Jason Herzog's like, all right, we'll give you your full 5 minutes. Full 5 minutes is up. Henry Cejudo, the round resets. He starts off. He gets through the 3rd round, and then he goes to his coaches and says, I can't see. Bring the doctor in. I can't see. So then Jason Herzog jumps in and is like, yo, if he can't see, I'm going to start the 4th round, and I'm going to call the fight off, and then we're going to go to a technical decision. It was extremely weird. Every time there's a weird thing that's outside of Vegas, they seem to never know how to handle it. The whole situation seemed awkward. Just like the Colby finish in, Tampa, whenever the doctor thought his cut was too bad. Either way, Henry Cejudo did look like he put on an Oscar-winning performance. Maybe he could see out of that eye. Maybe he couldn't. I'm joking. For a 38-year-old midget, Henry Cejudo didn't look half bad. He looked good in the fight. He was holding his own. I did think Song Yadong was winning. Song Yadong did land a halfway nut shot, and then he landed a nasty eye poke on Cejudo. But outside of that, Henry Cejudo landed some solid shots on Song Yadong, cut him on his face a little. But I thought Song Yadong was destroying Henry Cejudo's legs. He was piecing him up, hitting him with nasty jabs. And Henry Cejudo couldn't take him down. He tried a couple times, didn't really commit with anything crazy in terms of the takedowns. But yeah, super unfortunate, man. This was such a banger of a card. I think out of 12 fights, this card had like 9 finishes. So it's unfortunate that the main event had to end this way, because I think Song Yadong was going to take over in rounds 4 and 5, and he probably would have got a finish, or he would have dominated rounds 4 and 5. I think he was taken over, but it ends in the last way you want it to end. And should these guys rematch? I don't know. Henry Cejudo's 38 years old. Whenever Michael Bisping asked him if the rematch is next, Henry Cejudo very hesitantly said, yeah, I'll do the rematch. Yeah, we'll do the rematch. Like, he didn't really seem like he wanted to, but it was a good fight nonetheless. It's unfortunate, as I said, that it had to end that way. But, hey, man, Song Yadong proved to be the better fighter. That's what happens whenever you get a guy who's 11 years younger than you. And Henry Cejudo put on his best Aljo impression and Oscared his way out of that one. I'm joking, guys, but listen, I hate that the fight ended that way. You can see my reaction on stream. But yeah, Song Yadong gets it done by a technical decision. Let's not waste too much time on that. Moving on to that co-main event. This was an absolute insane back-and-forth scramble war. Anthony Hernandez versus Brendan Allen, the rematch. These guys actually fought back in the LFA, and Anthony Hernandez had beat Brendan Allen by decision. Well, this time, they're fighting in the UFC, and Anthony Hernandez just beat up Brendan Allen, and sometimes he made questionable decisions in the grappling and gave up positions, going for submissions. Anthony Hernandez, they kind of both did that a lot, but Anthony Hernandez was able to secure a ton of control time in rounds 2 and 3 over Brendan Allen and just control him and thread submissions the entire time. Brendan Allen was getting controlled in the first round, and at one point he reversed it, and I thought he was going to choke out Anthony Hernandez. I was like, oh crap, my boy Fluffy is about to go to sleep, but no. They both had, I think Anthony Hernandez had 1 minute 50 control time in the first round, and Brendan Allen ended up with 2 minutes 9 seconds of control time. So this was a war of these two guys going back and forth, controlling each other. But at the end of the war, Anthony Hernandez came out on top, proved he's the more efficient and better grappler, and I do think he has the better cardio. I was worried for Anthony Hernandez in that first round whenever Brendan Allen started raining down punches, and I was worried whenever he continuously just went for submission attempts over and over. I was like, man, I respect you for trying to finish the fight, but just chill, man. Chill, ride it out. Nah, don't ride it out. Always go for the finish. Respect to my boy Fluffy. And for people saying that, oh, dude, you don't like Merab, but you like Fluffy, he has the same kind of performance. Yeah, but there's a difference. Anthony Hernandez actually goes for finishes. Merab has zero intent to finish the fight. So don't come at me with that nonsense. My boy Fluffy gets it done. 29-28 across the board, I believe. Maybe 130-27. I did think you had to give that first round to Brendan Allen, but Fluffy Hernandez just showed he's the better guy. I think you can admit that Brendan Allen's probably the better striker, but it doesn't matter because Anthony Hernandez literally has unlimited cardio. He's going to cardio mog you in a grueling fight, and that's exactly what happened. Brendan Allen looked frustrated in the last round, and also let me just say, we need to add Brendan Allen onto the salty tier list, because after they announced Anthony Hernandez as the winner, he threw his hands up and was like, really? Like, bro, no one's scorecard had Brendan Allen winning that fight. I'm sorry. He got controlled for more than 3 minutes in the last 2 rounds while Fluffy was threatening submissions the entire time. I don't know in what world Brendan Allen thought he won that fight. It was a fun back and forth scramble match, but Anthony Hernandez ended up in the better positions, better control, attempted submissions, and yeah, they both had their moments, but Fluffy came out on top, and he just proved to be the better overall mixed martial artist, I'd say. So yeah, shout out to my boy Fluffy. I did predict him to win by a decision. I did not think he would finish Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's a very hard guy to submit. He's never been submitted in the UFC, so yeah. Anthony Hernandez will officially be a top 10 fighter once the new rankings hit on Tuesday. I'm very hyped about that. I can't wait to see who he fights next. Maybe a Cannonier matchup, maybe a Whitaker matchup. I don't know. Either way, shout out to my boy Fluffy. He gets it done. Definitely that dark horse of that middleweight division. Let's get on to that feature fight, which is an absolute banger. Rob Font beats Gene Matsumoto, taking his undefeated record by decision. What is going on with the undefeated fighters these years, boys? Every single undefeated fighter, it seems, that fights this year are losing their O's. Gene Matsumoto, Cody Steele, Renya Nakamura, Umar Nurmagomedov. I mean, the list goes on. Peyton Talbot, everybody that's undefeated seems to be losing. This is crazy. I know Gene Matsumoto took this fight on short notice, so respect to him. But Rob Font, bald Rob Font, might be a new mythical fighter. He took the Volkanovski route. He's like, you know what? Volkanovski, Coke with 5 title defenses. I'm about to go on a generational run. And Rob Font just showed he's a crafty vet, and he gets it done. This was a really close fight. And if you look at the stats, it shows that they both landed exactly 113 strikes, and Gene Matsumoto had 7 takedowns. But Rob Font actually showed improvements in his grappling, going for submissions, going for Kimuras, and showing an ability to get back to his feet instead of just being content on the ground. A lot of people will argue that they thought Gene Matsumoto won this fight just because he mixed up the striking better. He had more leg kicks, more body shots, more headshots. He had more variety. But I would argue that Rob Font landed the better and more damaging shots, even cutting Gene Matsumoto in that 3rd round, and just looked to be very crafty. Rob Font was, I won't say he was on his bike. He was on the gas this entire fight. Like, he was just in Gene Matsumoto's face, looking to crack him any chance he got. And it was a really beautiful performance by Rob Font. And I'm very happy that Rob Font fraud checks another up-and-coming guy. I don't know why. I love seeing Rob Font fraud check these young guys. Fraud check Kyler Phillips. Fraud check Gene Matsumoto. And now also fraud check Adrian Yanez. So Rob Font, well, he's taking him out one by one. Who's he going to be next? Shout out to Rob Font. Yeah, just put a boxing clinic on him. Training with Faraz Zahabi at 37 years old. Rob Font still making improvements. You got to respect the old head. But shout out to Gene Matsumoto. He stepped up on his fight on short notice. It was supposed to be Dominic Cruz, but obviously Cruz retired with an injury. So yeah, I'm very happy Gene Matsumoto stepped up and took this fight. An absolute banger. I give him his respect. He arguably could have won the fight, but I don't see it that way. I thought Rob Font landed the better shots, and the takedowns of Gene Matsumoto weren't really anything to like write home about. Like, oh my gosh, he took him down. Like, he took him down, and Rob Font was able to get up a lot of the time. So yeah, Rob Font wins by decision. I do agree with that decision. Shout out to my boy Rob. In the second fight on the main card, oh my goodness, Lord Gene Silva, one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, one of the most glazed fighters in the UFC, rightfully so. Everyone hates the fighting nerds because of this guy, how much people glaze him. Whenever the fighting nerds get glazed, it's typically John Silva or Carlos Prates. And John Silva put Baghdasaryan to sleep with a picture-perfect hook, hit him right on the chin. He goes down, out cold, and John Silva, in typical John Silva fashion, literally starts barking at the audience, which was hilarious. This guy is amazing. He called out Bryce Mitchell. I love that call out. I think Gene Silva would leave Bryce Mitchell's head flatter than he thinks the earth is. So that's hilarious. Yeah, John Silva, he's got a personality. This guy doesn't even speak English, and he's emoting in fights. He's giving guys thumbs up. He's barking after he knocks out his opponents. This guy's an entertaining and hilarious fighter, and he's really good. Like, he's a playful and fun guy with a great personality. But on top of all that, he's a really great fighter. So don't get it confused with his silly personality. This guy's a dangerous fighter, and he can knock out anybody. I think he has 13 wins now, 11 by knockout, or 14 wins and 12 by knockout. This guy's knocking out everybody. And yeah, now that Topuria is not champion, man, I didn't think he could beat a guy like Topuria. But if John Silva makes it to the top of the division, I think he has a good chance to take that belt. We haven't seen how well his grappling is if he gets taken down, but we're going to see that. And yeah, man, I'm excited. He's one of my favorite fighters. I think he is the best fighting nerd. He's the most skilled. I mean, you're talking about a guy who took Drew Dober's eyelid off on a week's notice, which is insane. Knocking guys out with uppercuts. And it's just impressive, man. Baghdasaryan, I think he's a kickboxer, longtime striker. And yeah, John Silva does it dirty on the feet. Gets the first round KO in 45 seconds. Very impressive. And yeah, turned into a Chihuahua in his post-fight interview. Shout out to the homie John Silva. Let's move on to the first fight on the main card. This is probably the worst fight on the entire card. This was actually the first decision fight of the card. Every single fight on the prelims went to finish, which is absolutely insane. You don't see that too often, but Alonzo Menifield and Julius Walker might be two of the most unskilled fighters on the entire roster. I mean, Julius Walker, a former basketball player, and it showed. This guy's cardio was absolutely terrible in the UFC fight, and it looked like both of these guys were fighting underwater. First of all, Alonzo Menifield should retire, and Julius Walker should probably go back to basketball, because this was, I don't know what this was. If you guys watched this fight, I was on the edge of my seat ready to crack a laugh every single time these guys drew a punch towards each other, because it was just hilarious. It was like, ooh, ooh. And it's like Alonzo Menifield was kind of cracking them, but the shots were in such slow motion that it was just a meme fight. Like, this was like Dada 5000 versus Kimbo 2.0, if I'm being honest. And yeah, it was kind of a meme, like blob. This was like the first blob fight at light heavyweight, I'll say. Like, typically you see the blob fights at heavyweight where the guys are gassed out around the cage looking like they're throwing punches underwater, but this was the official first blob fight at light heavyweight, and Alonzo Menifield beats Julius Walker by decision. Let me just say, Julius Walker, I don't think he's ever going to be anything special. No offense, but this guy would get eaten alive by anybody with decent cardio that isn't Alonzo Menifield. Finished in the first round, most likely. Julius Walker had extremely embarrassing cardio, and Alonzo Menifield typically has better cardio than that, so that was a bit weird. But yeah, Alonzo Menifield gets it done by decision. An extremely terrible performance from both of these guys. I was embarrassed on how bad the striking was. Moving on to the next fight, which was the last fight of the prelims, the headline of the prelims. Iwan Cutelaba fraud checks Ibo Aslan. I had a lot of people in my comment section on YouTube on my prediction saying, dude, I'm telling you, Ibo Aslan is going to destroy this fake Hulk. But no, I picked Iwan Cutelaba to get it done. And guess what? He submitted Ibo Aslan, showing that Ibo Aslan has literally no ground game. He just doesn't, man. Ibo Aslan's a big brute force that comes forward and throws caution to the wind. And if he can't get you out of there, he's probably going to be in trouble. He's just kind of a meathead that just throws big, meaty hooks, if we're being honest, like he did against Rafael Cerqueira, who also fought on this card. But yeah, man, Iwan Cutelaba showed that he's got that experience, man. And I know Iwan Cutelaba is one of the lowest fight IQ fighters in history, and this guy typically gets finished in the goofiest ways, like he's Johnny Walker's cousin or something. But he finds a way to get it done, and he takes down Ibo Aslan, sinks in the arm triangle, and yeah, that's all she wrote. 2 minutes and 9 seconds into the fight, Ibo Aslan goes to sleep. I was worried for Cutelaba while this fight was on the feet. They were swinging back and forth. Cutelaba was swinging for the fences. Good Lord. He was swinging the biggest country haymakers I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was worried the entire time. But at the end of the day, he gets the takedown on Ibo Aslan, who showed to have very not so great takedown defense. As soon as it went to the ground, Cutelaba transitioned into arm triangle and then tapped him out. And that was all she wrote. This fight was fun while it lasted, but Ibo Aslan showed that he's inexperienced on the ground, and if this guy doesn't get you out of there in the first round, he's probably not going to beat you by decision. That's what I learned. Moving on to the next fight on the prelims, we had Andre Fili having a very embarrassing performance against Mcconico Costa. This was embarrassing for Andre Fili. I don't know why I picked him. I should have known better. Andre Fili, if you guys don't know, he's the most inconsistent fighter in UFC history. This guy has 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss throughout nearly his entire UFC career. And I don't know why I trusted him to win this time around, because Andre Fili, this guy's a professional loser. I mean, he's been losing forever. This guy's been beaten by everybody. And I don't know, man. I just felt like he quit. He shot a takedown on Costa, right? He got the takedown, and then Costa transitioned to a guillotine. It didn't even look like he was crazy tight. And then Fili taps. It's like, come on, dude. Is Fili there for just a paycheck at this point? I don't know. I was very disappointed. I picked Fili, and I'm not mad that he lost. I'm mad because it felt like he gave up, you know? It didn't feel like he tried in the fight. It was like, I'm in a tough position. Let's just collect the paycheck and go home. That's what it felt like for Andre Fili. But, yeah, I guess Costa looked decent. I mean, on the feet, not much happened. Andre Fili shoots the takedown, and then Costa latches up the guillotine. That's all she wrote. And, yeah, like I said, disappointed in Andre Fili's performance, but I should expect it by now. He's literally won one fight, lost one fight throughout his entire UFC career, so there's that. Costa gets a win. I don't think he's going to be anything special, I'll be honest. And let me just say, what the heck is that tattoo on his chest? Moving on to the next fight on the prelims, which was Mansour Abdul-Malik versus Nick Klein. Now, let me say, I was very worried for Abdul-Malik in that first round. Nick Klein, I thought, was going to submit him. He was putting on a grappling clinic. He had the control time. Nearly had Mansour Abdul-Malik in a submission, I believe, and even landed, am I tripping? I might be thinking of another fight. Casual Bunny. Excuse me, guys. But even at one point, Nick Klein landed a crazy spinning back fist, which caught Mansur Abdul-Malik on the chin. And I was like, oh, he's rocked. This is going to be it. Nick Klein's going to finish it. Nah. He gets out of the first round, comes in the second round, and then just finishes Nick Klein. Nick Klein's kind of soy, not going to lie, outside the grappling. He's not the best striker. And what the heck was that stance? He was like standing like super low. I don't really remember this fight all too well. So excuse me if I'm not recalling it very well. But Mansur Abdul-Malik gets it done, improves his record to 7-0. And yeah, Nick Klein almost had it in the first round. But you got to be quicker than that. Moving on to the next fight, which was Ricky Simón. Oh my God, this was beautiful. And I picked Javid Basharat. But let me just say, I know that Javid Basharat is an absolute decision merchant. From what I remember, this guy got absolutely flatlined by the new mythical fighter, blonde hair Ricky Simón. This was a brutal KO. Arguably KO of the year so far. I mean, he hit Javid Basharat with a nasty right hand. Basharat went out cold. His head bounced off the canvas like twice. It was insane. No follow-up needed. A brutal KO. First round, 1 minute in. Man, talk about a fraud check from Ricky Simón. Ricky Simón said, oh, I'm on a losing streak. Y'all think I don't have it anymore? Watch this. Puts him out absolute cold. And yeah, man, amazing performance by Ricky Simón, showing he's still dangerous, showing he's still got that, as he called it, that West Coast knockout power, I believe they called it. But yeah, I didn't see Song putting out Javid Basharat out cold. This was definitely an unexpected performance. Ricky Simón, man, who knows? Maybe he can make a comeback and come up into those rankings. He's lost a good bit, but people forget, man. Ricky Simón has a win over Merab Dvalishvili by submission, dude. I don't sleep on this guy, even though I slept on him and picked Basharat. Either way, Basharat gets slept. He gets sent into orbit, and Ricky Simón claims probably a 50K bonus because that was a one-punch KO on a guy that's never been finished in the UFC. So, yeah, that was brutal. Amazing performance by Ricky Simón. He gets it done. And for Basharat, sucks, man. It's put out cold in lower weight classes. It's not a good look for his chin, but nonetheless, happy for Ricky Simón. He gets it done in front of his, what I think is his home crowd. Moving on to that next fight, we had Natalia Veretennikov versus Austin Vanderford. Now, I ain't going to lie. I picked Veretennikov because I didn't rate Austin Vanderford pretty high at all from the stats, from the highlights that I've seen from him in Bellator and other promotions. But listen, man, he proved me wrong. It was a decently close fight on the feet in the first round, I believe. I think Vanderford got it down to the ground, but Veretennikov survived to the second round. But Vanderford got him down in the second round, just kind of dominated him on the ground, and eventually he secured a dominant position and just hammered off shots until the ref had to step in. And yeah, Austin Vanderford dominated this fight. He had a submission attempt, but I thought he almost finished the fight. 2 of 4 on his takedowns. Total strikes landed 5 times more than Nikile Veretennikov. And Austin Vanderford, Paige Van Zant's husband, proves me wrong, gets it done. Yeah, not much else to say about this fight. Austin Vanderford dominated on short notice. Great win by him. Moving on to the next fight, second to last fight, Nurzhan Ruziboev versus Eric Mcconico. Now, Ruziboev, I believe, is the guy that Buckley dominated in the wrestling, which is crazy. This guy's got so much experience. I think he's 34-9, 35-9. This guy has over 40 professional fights, which is insane. And I think he has, out of his 34 wins, 32 finishes, which is absolutely crazy. Let me just say, Eric Mcconico, what the heck was that? That's what I'll say. This guy looked absolutely embarrassing. He didn't do anything. And Nurzhan Ruziboev just finished him. That's it. I really... Listen, boys, this is a long-ass stream. I streamed this card for 5.5 hours. You guys can't fault me for not remembering a fight. But Nurzhan Ruziboev gets it done. Second round finish over Eric Mcconico. I don't think Eric Mcconico is anything special. So, yeah, the more experienced fighter gets to finish. And the first fight on the card was Bukauskas brutally, and I mean brutally, KO'd Rafael Cerqueira. I don't rate Rafael Cerqueira. This guy came in the UFC on short notice and faced Ibo Aslan at UFC 308, I believe, and got finished in the first round. It looked like he kind of gave up. But in this fight, Bukauskas closed the distance, put him against the fence, and put Rafael Cerqueira out cold for his second brutal TKO loss in a row. Rafael Cerqueira is probably going to get cut from the UFC. And for Bukauskas, this guy went from getting his knee absolutely stomped out by Khalil Roundtree to absolutely knocking guys out into the shadow realm. So shout out to my boy Bukauskas. I did pick him to win. And yeah, guys, that was ultimately the card. Overall, I'd rate this card at 8 out of 10. I know that seems a bit high, but man, whenever you have 7 finishes in a row on every single prelim fight, how can you not rate this card that high? Sure, the main event ended in a very strange way. If the main event was a banger that was back and forth and my pick went right, maybe I rated a 9 because of the bias, but it ended weird. But overall, John Silva gets an amazing performance. Rob Font has a crafty vet performance. Ion Cutelaba showed out. Bukauskas had a great KO. And main event ended weird. But yeah, overall, like I said, an 8 out of 10 on this card. This is my official recap of the card, boys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys for everybody that tuned into the stream and hung out with me. Drop a like if you like these kind of recap videos. I'm out, guys, and deuces.